Alright, so Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. One of the many 2007 movies, in fact, that left a lot of people disappointed. And while I don't harbor a seething hatred for this movie that a lot of other people do, I don't think it's very good at all. Um, so let's just start with the acting. I want to get this over with. Um, I want this to be a lot shorter than the movie. This movie is nearly 3 hours long, and it feels like it. This movie is just so. This movie is a mess. It is just a big, convoluted 3 hour mess. But the story is that after Dead Man's Chest, Jack Sparrow is in Davy Jones' locker. So after having the voodoo priestess, played by Naomi Harris, bring Captain Barbossa back from the dead, um, they undertake a voyage to Davy Jones' locker to retrieve Jack Sparrow. And the reason for this is not because they miss him or anything, but more so because he is one of the 9 pirate lords. Apparently, there are pirate lords for each part of the world. Like there's a French pirate lord, there's an Asian pirate lordess. Um, there, there's there apparently there are pirates everywhere. Not really. Anyway, so they undertake a voyage to Davy Jones' locker to get Jack Sparrow back. While at the same time, after Norrington delivered Davy Jones's heart to Lord Cutler Beckett of the East India Trading Company, then now Davy Jones is now under the command of Beckett. I mean, Beckett basically has him under the gun, saying like, "Do what I say, fight for me, kill pirates for me, or I will stab your heart and kill you." Now, this really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and you will see that in a minute. But as for Johnny Depp, I admit that I got more laughs out of him this time around than in Dead Man's Chest because I probably shouldn't have laughed at this, but I did get a few chuckles out of these hallucinations that he goes through. Apparently, being in the locker has driven him even crazier than he was before. So he's seeing all these other versions of himself. Basically kind of teasing him and taunting him and telling him what to do. So I got a few laughs out of that, just because of how strange and random it was. Not really because it was well written. It was just because of how random and out of nowhere that it was a lot of the time. But the problem still remains that you can predict what he's going to do. You can still basically you still know exactly what he's going to do at all times, and if for some reason you don't, it's only really because of the convoluted writing. Because his character is still overused. I mean, they still have way too many scenes where he's just talking and no one else is. Maybe they were under the mindset that, oh, it's Jack Sparrow, so people will be entertained. Orlando Bloom is actually worse this time around. I mean, he's honestly, he's back to being the bland character that he was in the first one, except now he's made more unlikable by the fact that he will basically backstab anyone to achieve his own ends. Now, I understand that they were trying to show an advancement of character, like he's picking up the pirate's ways and becoming a pirate, but you can still make him likable. You can still prevent him from being a traitorous little turd. And Keira Knightley is basically the same way. She kind of reverts back to the way she was in the first movie, where she's basically, I don't even know how to describe her performance. I mean, she doesn't give a bad performance. I don't think either her or Orlando Bloom give quote unquote bad performances. But it's just the writing, just how they make their characters out. Because Keira Knightley, she doesn't do a bad job or anything, but the thing is, her character is completely superfluous. If you took her character out, you wouldn't lose anything. And really, the only reason she's here is because the movie occasionally forces her into the plot. Like, oh, we need something for Elizabeth to do. Okay, then she gets taken by Chow Yun Fat under the delusion that she is this ancient sea goddess. Okay. Oh, we need something else for her to do. Okay, she's now the pirate king. It seems like there are so many characters in this movie that they're struggling to figure out what each of them can do to contribute to the plot. And it really does not work. Jeffrey Rush is okay, but I have to wonder, could they really not come up with any other explanation other than the fact that the voodoo priestess brought him back to life? Okay, they never mention how she brought him back to life, why she brought him back to life. I mean, really the only explanation that they give is, oh, you need a captain. You couldn't pick anyone who has not tried to kill them in the past. I mean, yeah, he is a fun character, but if she can just bring people back to life like this, why can't she bring other characters back to life who died? Because there are a lot of characters who get axed off in this, and I was just basically saying to myself, bring them back to life. Because you can do that, apparently. What is stopping you? And I don't want to hear this thing where, like, oh, she can't bring this person back to life because insert condition here. No, because we never actually get an explanation for how she brought them back to life or what she needed to bring Barbossa back to life. We never really get any indication that there are any limitations on this. Really, the only rule that they establish is she can't bring someone back to life who has gotten sent to Davy Jones' locker. And this movie apparently started shooting without a finished script. Not only would it have been extremely difficult to fix the problems with Dead Man's Chest, considering they shot him back to back, but also they started shooting without a finished script. And it shows. This, like I said, this movie is just a jumbled mess. I mean, there are so many plot threads going on. There are so many characters who have their own agenda. There are so many plot twists, and it's really hard to keep up. But Jeffrey Rush is a lot of fun, even though his presence here and his childish rivalry with Depp's character does kind of undermine their blood feud in the first movie. But I can easily see someone getting a little peeved about that, because this is the guy that Jack spent the entire first movie wanting to kill, and suddenly suddenly they're just it's just like two children fighting over a doll who can subsequently be made to work together by a stern talking to. Nothing that I mean, I'm not saying that there's anything particularly wrong with Jeffrey Rush's performance. It's just that the character's presence is just very confusing, and it only adds more plot holes to the movie. A few among many plot inconsistencies. But Bill Nye is not very good in this movie. And I'm trying to differentiate the performance from the character. Bill Nye plays the character fine, although the character is no longer the least bit menacing because he is constantly under the boot of Lord Cutler Beckett. Tom Hollander is better this time around. Tom Hollander is still very good as Lord Cutler Beckett, although I wish he was in a much better movie. But Bill Nye, he's not really allowed to be intimidating anymore. He basically spends the entire movie being ordered around and looking all sad because apparently he had a love affair with a ancient sea goddess. Okay, this is supposed to be your main bad guy. And you know what? I know what they were going for with this movie. I know exactly what they were going for. With the 3-hour runtime, the darkened tone, and the fact that your villain from the last movie is now reduced to a sidekick. They were going for kind of a cross between Return of the King and Return of the Jedi. This movie's not as good as either of those, but you have Davy Jones basically playing the Darth Vader character. Although Darth Vader, he wasn't. He was not completely devoid of menace. And the thing with Darth Vader is that he had a personal connection with the main hero, Luke Skywalker. Davy Jones has no such connection with any of the characters. He has his own little tragic backstory that we can't really care about because it's just lost among dozens of other subplots. So Bill Nye, like I said, I can't really go so far as to call his performance bad, but the character itself is just majorly downgraded this time around. They got Chow Yun Fat as an Asian pirate captain, Sao Fang. He looks very cool, but he doesn't do anything. He just spends most of the movie scowling, which seems like a waste of good talent, if you ask me. Because Chow Yun Fat is apparently this big Asian superstar. He's one of the most profitable actors of his region, of his part of the world, and you didn't really give him any juicy material to work on. You just had him. He has no defining characteristics other than, oh, he's a mean Asian pirate captain. Why bring this character in? That's what I'm asking. Why bring this totally new set of character, this totally new set of rules, this totally new set of plot threads in when it's just going to make the movie more confusing? And like I said, this is when it really starts to show that these two movies started shooting without the script being finished. Because you can easily tell that in this movie they introduce a lot of other characters, a lot of other rules, a lot of other plot threads that were completely absent from the previous movie. The Pirate Lords were not mentioned once in Dead Man's Chest. The Tia Dalma, the voodoo chick, bringing people back to life, was not mentioned once in Dead Man's Chest. The 9 pieces of 8 or whatever, they were not mentioned once in Dead Man's Chest. The Brethren Court was not mentioned once. the fact that the rules regarding Davy Jones's heart and what happens if you stab it was not mentioned once in Dead Man's Chest. All of these things they're just bringing out of the blue, and in doing so, it renders a lot of Dead Man's Chest kind of either pointless or confusing because Dead Man's Chest, Jack did not want to. Okay, apparently, what happens if you stab Davy Jones's heart? You do kill him, but at the same time, the Flying Dutchman must have a captain. So, whoever stabs the heart, they must then put their heart into the chest, and take over captainship of the Flying Dutchman, and ferry souls to the next world. Now, if the characters had known this in the last movie, then there probably would not have been nearly as much of a conflict as that three-way sword fight over who gets the heart in Dead Man's Chest, because Jack's main concern in the last movie was not getting eaten by the Kraken. Well, if he was captain of the Flying Dutchman, which is what he wants to be in this movie, then he could have personally called the Kraken off. So yeah, there are all these really, like I said, it's just a mess. It's just a mess, and this movie gets so needlessly dark and depressing and grim. And like I said, it's trying to emulate Lord of the Rings, especially with its 3-hour runtime and the sense of we have to unite against this evil. Pirates of the Caribbean fundamentally is completely dissimilar to the Lord of the Rings. It's only, I mean, whatever similarities there are, these filmmakers have put them here because of their mammoth length. These pirate movies do not need to be this long. They do not need to be 2.5 hours long. This one's over that. It's almost 3 hours long. Do you really need a 3-hour pirate flick? Really? If for something that's just meant to be a silly swashbuckling adventure, which they still have not ditched that aesthetic. There are still long sequences in this movie that are meant to be lighthearted and fun, but when they're mixed in with all these depressing plot threads and sense of doom, it honestly feels like tonal whiplash. Naomie Harris is not very good in this movie either. I mean, she just spends most of the movie looking all sad. Because apparently she is the human form of the ancient sea goddess that Davy Jones was in love with, and Barbossa wants to release the sea goddess from her human form, so that they can use this ancient sea goddess Calypso as a tool in their fight, or as a helpful asset in their fight against the East India Company and Davy Jones. Okay, but the thing is, when she is actually released, the movie keeps building this up, like if Calypso is released, then there will be hell to pay. The movie builds this up for so long, and what does it amount to? She grows into a giant, and then turns into a bunch of crabs, goes into the sea, and then creates a maelstrom, which honestly could have been achieved without... It honestly could have been achieved, this weather effect could have been achieved without introducing this goddess subplot. It's really, really odd because in your head you're thinking, if she wanted to be released from human form so bad, why is she just choosing now to do so? Couldn't she have gotten a gullible pirate captain to help her before? I mean, why hasn't she made her move before? because you're not supposed to think about this movie at all. You're not supposed to think about any of the stuff that they are throwing on screen, because the instant you start to think about it, the movie starts to fall apart, because you start questioning things that logic would have you question. Why, back to the Davy Jones heart thing. If it is common knowledge that if Davy Jones knows that his heart, anyone who stabs his heart must then subsequently take his place, then why is there even a cause to be worried about Beckett's blackmailing? What? Because all he has to do is go to Beckett's army and tell them, okay, this guy is threatening to have one of you guys stab my heart, but the thing is, if you stab it, then you have to take my place. Is that really where you want to be? That's all he has to do to completely render Beckett's threats void. But does he do that? No, he just sits around looking sad. Until the end, when the movie finally decides, oh yeah, this is our villain, we should have him fight the heroes. So, oh god, this movie is just so... It's just so packed to the brim with nonsense. This plot is so confusing. And it's not helped by the characters constantly changing sides. I'm backstabbing you now, and I'm gonna be with the East India Trading Company. But then I'm going back to the side of the pirates, and it just keeps going like that. People keep changing sides. People keep backstabbing each other. It is just so needlessly complicated. The premise is needlessly complicated about these 9 pirate lords trying to release this goddess. That's made more complicated. The fact that you need to stab Davy Jones' heart to kill him, that's made more complicated. The characters' motivations and what they really want, that is made more complicated. And there are some people out there who may argue, this is trying to be more complex. No. This is meant to be a silly adventure flick. And you're throwing... This movie starts with them hanging a kid. This movie starts with a series of hangings of suspected pirates, and one of them is a kid who starts singing this pirate shanty. Really, this is what you are promoting, Disney. This is what you are letting these guys do. This movie is so convoluted. And like I said, it is just so needlessly dark and depressing at times, because there's also another subplot. Big surprise, another... Make this like 101 subplots now. Where Bootstrap Bill, the Stellan Skarsgård character from the last movie, he's slowly becoming a part of the Flying Dutchman after spending time in the brig for helping Will Turner in the last movie. And he is slowly starting to lose his memory. He is slowly starting to go all crazy. He's basically having this movie's version of Alzheimer's. Okay, again, this plot goes completely nowhere because he's completely fine at the end, and B, this is just another needlessly mean-spirited scene that really has no place being in something that's supposed to be a high-flying adventure. God. The acting is hit or miss. The story is beyond overcomplicated. The only reason this thing is this thing is nearly 3 hours long is because the characters keep having, is because the story is just so, they keep adding unnecessary layers to this story. And I can appreciate the need for, I can appreciate the desire for a complex story, but there's a difference between clever and complex and just a complete disorganized, unstructured mess. And that's what this is. This has no, like I said, like I've been saying, it really shows that they started shooting without a finished script, because not only is this story overcomplicated, but there are several things in it that just do not make sense. Another thing that doesn't make sense: if Jack was eaten by the Kraken along with the Black Pearl, how did he end up in Davy Jones's locker? I mean, is that the way things work with the Kraken? Is that if you're eaten by the Kraken, then you're magically teleported to Davy Jones's locker? Which is basically like this purgatory where there's no winds, there's no anything, there's just nothing for miles. Is that the way things work? If the Kraken is this organic living creature, then doesn't it need to eat? I mean, what happens when all of its food magically transports from its stomach to Davy Jones's locker? I mean, does the Kraken crap? Does the Kraken crap them out in the locker? I mean, I don't know. And with that said, what about all the other ships that the Kraken devoured in the last movie? What about that one fishing ship? And how about the other ship that Will got on after he escaped from the Flying Dutchman? What about those? Where are they in Davy Jones's locker? Did they somehow not end up in Davy Jones's locker? And what is with the crabs? Because all of a sudden Jack is trying to move the pearl. He can't because there's no water. It's just this purgatory wasteland with nothing going on. And all of a sudden these rocks show up. There's a bunch of rocks that turn into crabs that lift the Black Pearl several miles, where it descends safely into the ocean. But it's not the regular ocean, it's Davy Jones's locker ocean. Because there's still nothing for miles, no land, no anything. So, where did these crabs come from? Are they just part of the are they just part of the place? They just keep making this stuff up as they go, it seems like. And then later when Jack meets up with all the Black Pearl crew and they set sail without a solid destination in Davy Jones's, because they're in Davy Jones's locker. They have no idea where to go. They come across all these people in lifeboats who are basically sailing the opposite direction. They are sailing back toward the desert purgatory place that Jack was previously in. And they say that they are souls, that they are the souls of the dead. Now again, this raises a whole bunch of other plot holes. A, are these people also in Davy Jones's locker? B, what is the difference between Davy Jones's locker and the regular afterlife? Where are these people going? Where will they go once they get there? C, why can't, because Elizabeth's father is here, and James Norrington also ends up here at some point. Why can't Tia Dalma just bring these people back? Because the movie is all sad because Elizabeth has to watch her father sail to the afterlife. Why can't Tia Dalma just bring these guys back? Because she can do that. At least the movie has us believe she can do that, because she brought Barbossa back fine. But the movie doesn't even follow its own rules. It's just so complicated. I have no idea. There are no rules. I mean, the movie tries to establish rules, but when it doesn't follow the rules, you're left completely lost. So, so I, I don't know what to make of this movie. I suppose I should highlight some good stuff. I mean, the action is still well shot. The music is very good by Hans Zimmer. Um, I mean, if even though trying to make this like Lord of the Rings is completely misguided, the very epic music by Hans Zimmer is very very good. The action, there's still no shaky cam, at least that I can see. The action is all well choreographed. It's well shot. When the movie does allow you to have some fun with these swashbuckling scenes, there's a scene near the beginning where all the pirates in Singapore, like Sao Fang and the main characters, are basically running away from a East India Company ambush, and they're basically running and fighting at the same time, and it's this big swashbuckling chase scene. That was fun. And the end battle, as grim as it can get, is well shot. It's you really do get the sense that this is really awesome because it's these two ships fighting in this maelstrom, people swinging from ship to ship, people fighting on top of the sails, like around the crow's nest. I mean, people fighting everywhere. It's very well done. So it's hard for me to really give a definite ruling on this movie because on one hand you will probably be very confused, if not depressed at times, but on the other hand you will still get the typical Pirates of the Caribbean fun. You will still occasionally get the very good action scene, and the action scene in this movie are very good. The fight scenes are very good. The music is very good. The acting can be very good from some people, not others. But you got to sit through a lot to get there. You got to sit through a lot of complicated story, a lot of which does not make sense. You got to sit through some dull performances. You got to sit through some unlikable characters. You got to sit through some depressing stuff. And you also gotta try to stomach this movie's misguided ambition to live up to the Lord of the Rings, when really, just on a fundamental level, that is not what Pirates of the Caribbean is. I had this problem with the previous two movies, but it is amplified in this movie. These movies seem to think they are bigger and more epic than they really are, than they really have any right to be. Because it's just a bunch of pirates. Why can't we just have a pirate movie where the pirates go after this pirate treasure? You know, like the first movie. Why can't this movie be 90 minutes? Why can't this movie be a lot simpler? Oh, and that's another thing. This movie seems to be under the impression that the pirates are good guys. Not true. Really not true, because these pirates, by their very nature, were. I honestly think this subject matter was handled better in Assassin's Creed 4, because Assassin's Creed 4 it also can occasionally lose sight of the fact that these pirates are breaking the law. They're killing people. They're murdering people, potentially raping people. They're pillaging. They're murdering. They're made out to be the basically the definition of freedom. And when the first movie tried this, when the first movie equated this with Jack Sparrow, with the character of Jack Sparrow and the Black Pearl, it worked because you were just talking about one pirate and one pirate ship. But when this movie tries to label when this movie tries to put that same label on on an army of other pirates. I was just left there questioning just what have these other pirates done? What crimes have they committed up to this point? Is this really the type of are these really the type of people that you would label as the heroes? Pirates are not good guys. Pirates are murdering, raping, pillaging scallywags. They are basically the bandits of the sea. They rob. They kidnap. And the movie's making them out to be these very good guys. Like, you leave those pirates alone, you evil East India Company. I mean, they just want to sail the seas and be free. No, they want to sail the seas and they want to sail the seas and cause other people misery for their own ends. Now, I'm not saying the East India Trading Company is that good either, but they are at least trying to enforce the law. I mean, Beckett, when you get right down to it, his motivation is kind of understandable. Like, I want order. I want to make the sea an orderly place. I will embrace these supernatural powers to do so, but I want order. I want control in this Caribbean Sea. I want to enforce the law to the lawless. And I'm like, okay, I can get behind this. Really, the only reason I can't get behind it is because the movie desperately tries to make me hate the East India Company, using really cheap tactics, like having them cold-bloodedly murder innocent people, like when they hanged a kid in the beginning. But there's a real sense of misguided priorities when it comes to who the good guys are in this movie. And another thing that doesn't make sense: why did Beckett get rid of the Kraken? Because the Kraken, by far, is your best tool for wiping out pirates. And he just had Davy Jones kill the Kraken. You are the dumbest guy ever, okay? The Kraken was by far the coolest thing in Dead Man's Chest, and it was potentially your strongest asset, and the movie never really gives any reason why he had Davy Jones do this. I mean that would be like if I was, let's just be general. Let's just say that I was conquering, I don't know, Russia or something, and I had Godzilla on my side. Or I'm just picking random things here. If I was conquering Russia, the massive land of Russia, and I had this giant fire-breathing, indestructible monster on my side, and I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna kill Godzilla. I don't need Godzilla. He's not gonna come in handy. He's not gonna be useful in my global conquest in any way. It is completely superfluous to my plan. You are stupid. So, yeah, I really don't. I will say this: I liked the Keith Richards cameo. Keith Richards cameos as Jack Sparrow's father, and this was it was self-indulgent, but I just got a kick out of it because Keith Richards was apparently one of the inspirations for Depp's portrayal of Jack Sparrow. So I like the fact that he played basically an older. He played this grizzled old pirate. He doesn't really do anything, but it's Keith Richards as a pirate. And by the looks of it, they didn't really have to put a whole lot of. They didn't really have to make him ugly, because look at him, he's Keith Richards. He already looks like a pirate. Um, but yeah, the if if you are willing to sit through a lot of crap to get there, then you will you will find some very good action, some very good music, and and some uh, and some potentially good performances. But but this movie's in this movie's I keep saying this, in this movie's misguided goal to be the grand finale of the epic Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy, the uh, the most dramatic story since the Ten Commandments. In that in that really in that really dumb goal, it feels the need to partake in a lot of convoluted storytelling, in a lot of depressing moments. This movie really doesn't have a consistent tone at all. Um, yeah, it's like I said, I can't really go so far as to call it terrible, but it's definitely I don't think it's very good. I don't think it's very good. I mean, there are very good parts of it. There are very good aspects of it, but I don't really know if that's enough to justify it as a full recommendation. I don't think it is. So that's my 2 cents. Um, if you think you can stomach this movie's crap factor, and the numerous problems with it, then I think you will find some stuff that you really like, namely the action and the music and a few other stuff. But that's about all I got for Pirates of the Caribbean 3. And next up is Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides.